Welcome to Objections with Stan Willis. I'm obviously not Stan Willis. This guy over here is Stan Willis, and this is Kelly Willis. You know you're Stan Willis. Why'd you make that face?
I know Stan Willis, but I'm just like, why would you even think that people might mistake you for me? I mean, I am so ruggedly handsome, and you're so.
Can I say this? Can I say this to you? People actually text me or send me messages about law-related items because they can't tell which one of us is the lawyer. Okay. They look at the way that I'm dressed and they go, "That's a sharp-dressed man. He knows what's going on."
That's what they say. For sure.
Kelly,
that's
thank you for.
They say for sure.
I appreciate that Kelly's here because she's
tell
going to keep
your
everything in
mom
line.
I said hi next time.
What the hell is that supposed to mean? What's that supposed to mean?
That's who's texting you.
I thought you were trying to say my mom's cheating on my dad. But let's talk about who is cheating on people.
Your parents divorced?
No, my parents have been married for like 70 years. I don't even know how old they are now.
I thought they were divorced.
Why would they be divorced? Because she's a crazy Puerto Rican lady and needs a guy that doesn't talk?
Because you're their child.
They have another child that never comes around. So they just focus their energy on that. And then I'm here doing what I do.
Okay.
They only have to see me one time a week on Saturdays.
Okay.
Other than that, they have to deal with me.
Okay.
I want to talk about, how do I phrase this in a classy way? Getting it on in the mailroom. The Boston Celtics. I don't know. Was that a classy way to say it?
That was incredibly classy. Good job.
I'm going to say
you
this.
You really should be an attorney. You should have gone to law school.
Do you understand? I wouldn't even let the other guy talk. They'd be like, "What's his turn to close it?" Fuck it. I'm doing this. I'm not done. What I want to say is this: the Celtics.
I do feel like that sometimes, though.
Why do you have to let the other person go?
It's the rules.
Wait, who gets to go first? By the way, I never asked that question.
Moving party, plaintiff. Yeah.
So when they do something like the Amber Heard thing, when they screwed the whole thing up, then you just get to go, oh, so it's not like debate club. It didn't go back and forth. It's you screwed this up and let me point this out. So the one that goes first typically is going to lose, right?
Not necessarily, but there is an advantage to going first, and there's also an advantage to going last. And
I like to go last. I
You're
like to have the last
50-50
word.
guy. I knew Kelly would say that. You're such a fit. She
I
said
like to have the last word.
That's for freaking sure.
Again, as I will state, when Kelly's talking, I always let her finish, and I try to find a door because I don't want to be in trouble. Listen, because you're getting me off track here. The Boston Celtics coach, Emmy and Doak.
Liquid death.
First of all, this is piss water. Get the regular water, sparkling water. Whoever came up with this obviously loves the devil. So the head coach of the Celtics, who's married to the sweet, sweet Nia Long, not for much longer. And if you're watching, Nia, hit me up. So
I feel like more plugs are coming than that.
Oh, I'm not done with it because we're going to do a whole green screen montage. She's going to know about me and she's going to be impressed. Divorced guy, almost 70 or almost 47 years old.
Almost 70.
My dad's 70.
He doesn't even know how freaking old
I hang
he
out
is.
with a guy whose beard is touching his belt. What more could you want? But my point about workplace environment, the coach is having oodles of canoodles with a videographer person all season long and is going to be suspended for the year. Legally, here's my question.
Okay.
Because we kind of talked about this before we started.
You have a legal question?
How I could solve any legal thing. This is just for the show.
I mean, you can Google it on the internet.
I Googly all day. Unfortunately, I don't find anything that has words. What I'm asking is, how bad is this about to be? Because he's about to be suspended for a year, but they're saying this won't cost him his job. What did he violate? I guess a morals clause, I would assume, with the team? Because it's a team employee that he, you know what I mean?
Well, it depends. He may have a morals clause. He may not have a morals clause. That comes down to whichever, to the
and how they interpret it
and everything like that. But just in a just from a standard employment law kind of perspective, if he is actually having sex with someone who works for him or is in the line, so maybe she doesn't report directly to him, but her boss reports to him, or if at any level he has authority over her position, then by having sex with her, it creates at least a presumption that there is sexual harassment, even if it's consensual.
That's the part I want to ask you about because
so if you sleep with an employee
which
So
I have.
when you sleep with Nate,
Yeah.
it's
I don't back away from that.
It's a presumption. It's a presumption is there's a presumption
Keep going.
that it's harassment, even if it appears to be consensual.
So if it's brought on, even if the other person brings it on and she's like, come here, guy with weird name, Umeagodoka,
Right.
He's still at fault because he's supposed to stop it. Is he supposed
run
to
away, baby?
Is he supposed to report it? Is
As
the
they
question.
used to say in the 70s, don't get your bread and your milk in the same place.
First of all, who said that? Because in the 70s, the economy was trash.
I don't think in the 70s they cared about this either.
Well, they didn't have celiac disease, so they
legally-
might have cared
legally
about
I said
cared
bread.
about
milk. I
this.
meant meat. I totally screwed it up. The delivery was terrible.
No, it's fine. We'll have Nate edit that. Don't edit that.
We never added anything.
Sometimes Nate bleeps it every time I say roll tide, so I'm sure that's going to be done.
Amen.
Kelly, when you said that people didn't care in the 70s, kind of give people who might be in their 20s that listen to the show, which I don't know why they would, why that wasn't a big deal.
I think we turned a blind eye to it. From the practice area we're in, it was very common.
Still is very common.
Still is, but for the attorney to end up marrying his secretary after a divorce, it's the same issue
Mostly
in
because she was
medical
pregnant.
profession.
What'd you say?
Mostly
She's
because she was
pregnant.
pregnant.
A lot of that went on. I think we turned a blind eye to it. It's become more of an issue, a litigious issue. And I'm going to say it because I'm a woman. I think you have women out there who know this, and they're gold diggers. And that $12 an hour videographer job just turned into a
$15. Oh, more than sorry. I thought it meant she was going to get a promotion.
I doubt
think-
she gets promoted.
And it does not matter if it's male to female. It could have been a female supervisor with a male subordinate employee.
So is
Or
it
a male and a male.
Or a male and a male. It's not a gender issue. It's
or a woman and an octopus? I get where you're going with
Yes.
this.
Right.
I would love to see that. That's a
But
Japanese
you would
thing.
not believe how stupid people are.
I want to talk about how stupid people are because when I worked in radio in the, say, late 90s, early 2000s, everybody there basically should have brought their own mattress because everybody was just going at it like dogs, right? I don't want people to think that radio is a classless thing. It is. But
It's every industry.
everybody just kind of kept it under wraps, right? And then as the, let's just say 2013 to 2015 year, all these people are filing sexual for comments, for some, the way you said something, the way you looked at me or you commented on my outfit.
Right.
Do you think that is a new thing under the whole, they grab them by the, type comments and now everybody wants to sue because they're looking for money or they're looking for attention? Or do you think there's that much more sexual harassment?
I think people are much more sensitive to it than they used to be. And I think that it's less common now, so it stands out more.
It's less common that it happened. You mean like the
than it
passing
has
glance
been in
type
the
thing?
Past. Sexual comments, sexually charged atmospheres in the workplace are much less common now than they used to be.
But why?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons. Number one, I think there are a lot more women in professional settings than there used to be. It used
And that's
to be
wrong, right?
Well,
Oh no, that's not wrong. I'm sorry.
It has changed the workforce.
So say in the 70s and 80s, if you went into your average law firm downtown, all of the men wearing suits were lawyers and all of the women were secretaries
Or dancers.
or
And
dancers.
we've talked about that. I went to law school in the 90s. 50% of our class was women.
Right.
There are not 50% of us practicing. I can name very few of us that are still practicing in the law.
Why do you
but I
think that
think
they
even-
stopped?
but-
For
but-
family reasons?
Family issues.
But now, because of optics or because of whatever, there are a lot more women in suits that are lawyers, and that being the case, I think that's created an environment that's more sensitive to the overtly sexualized environment than it used to be. I honestly think that just the presence of more women in positions that are equal to the other men, because you think about if you've got a law firm and there are 50 partners and all of them are men, or maybe one of them is a woman, if you have a sexual harassment complaint,
It's her fault.
Who are you taking it to?
Oh, that's true.
And if you file that suit, you will never work in the industry again.
Right. So
You have killed
now
your
if you
career.
have
Go back to that.
now if you have 50 attorneys, chances are at least 15 or 20 of them are women. And so now there's a lot more inside the average law firm. There's a lot more people who would be sympathetic to that complaint.
Kelly, I want to ask you this question because, again, you were a lawyer. You've been a lawyer for a long time. As things have changed, I'm not asking you to name names other than Nate, but have you felt sexually harassed in the workplace and you just kind of like accepted it? Because you are in a, other than your own building, because you work with Stan, but he also makes googly eyes at me, so don't feel special. What I'm saying is, did you feel like your chosen career path, like you were just going to have to put up with it? You know, as being a female in a male-dominant industry.
I didn't feel like I had to put up with it. Definitely experienced it one time as a law clerk once, and I quit the job. I just quit. I did not go back. But I think that, not everybody has that much confidence.
Right.
Or
Well, that is a strong point because I thought you were going to say, and so I just threw a brick at his
it took
window,
me
like you quit.
I didn't do it fast. I was like, you just tolerate it and you tolerate it. And I think that's the thing with sexual harassment is they kind of put it out there and then it goes a little further and then you just don't know what the boundaries are.
Right.
It just, and you're like, well, it's kind of like, it's sad, but domestic violence, right? You read that a lot where it starts out with a verbal abuse and then they throw something at you and then they smack you. And you know what I'm saying? It escalates. And while it escalates, so do your boundaries.
Right. I see. So you're saying it's also growing. Like this happened, so I'm going to let this slide.
Right.
But as it gets bigger and bigger, it's almost like encouraging the person who's doing the harmful act. Like, well, this is acceptable, so I'm going to add and add and add.
Right. So you have to know what your boundaries are in the workplace. Did I feel that after? No, but I don't think I'm that type of female that's
not a
open and
fair way
warm
to
and-
ask it. I should have
Right.
asked another person that was in your law firm because I think that you would have handled it. I think there are some people that I think people today, you're between 25 and 35, you would be in counseling and you wouldn't be able to go through those doors and all that because I think there's a weaker breed of people. I'm not saying you should be abused. I'm saying there are people that don't have a backbone to stand up to this stuff.
I also think there are people who are setting others up
Oh, I want to get to that.
for the suit. Yeah.
So here's my next question.
Cannot be too careful.
How does it work? So Stan, you're the attorney and somebody in your office, I will give you the example of in a workplace environment someone was sending like nudes to somebody from Instagram to the other person.
Right.
Who they do business with. So it's a salesperson to do this for somebody that buys from them. Where's the sexual harassment in that situation? Because they could go, oh, I didn't mean it. I was just kidding. But if that person that got the pictures acts on it, they are technically above this person, right? There's pressure put on because
if you've got so essentially you're talking about somebody who's dealing with a vendor, right? So
well, it's no different the way I look at it because
right.
even though
So-
that woman's a team employee,
So say somebody in my office has somebody that we do business with,
Yeah.
and the person in my office is sending these lewd text messages to that person over there. Well, there are a lot of issues. There are a lot of things that come in from an employer standpoint. First of all, are they doing this on my equipment, or are they
Right.
doing this on their own phone?
what if they borrow your phone to send it?
Because if they're using my computer or my phone to send these messages, then I'm going to fire them for it. That's if I find out, I'm going to fire them for doing that. If they're using their own personal phone, I really can't control what they do on their own personal phone, and I really can't necessarily find out what they're doing. But if this person over here objects to it,
Objection to Stan Willis.
Yeah, there you go. Objections will stand. If the person on the receiving end objects to it, since it's a vendor relationship, there is kind of a well, you know, if you don't do this, I'm going to terminate this. So there is kind of I mean, what the courts tend to look at is is there an equal footing, or is there a power differential that one party has over the other party? So if our office manager said to you, Mike, you've got to sleep with me, or else,
Fine.
or else
I'm going to move the account.
We're going to move the account, and
I'll do it.
We'll hire somebody
for the
else.
company, not for me. For the Wait, how attractive is the person I had to?
It depends.
She's adorable.
If they're a 5 or over after 6 o'clock, I'm 100% in. Okay.
You know, beggars can't be choosers. Anyway, if there's a threat, or if there is the potential of a threat, where you're like, well, crap, this is one of my biggest accounts. I can't afford to lose this, so I have to do this. That's actionable. That's a sexual harassment that's actionable. So then the question becomes, what do we do about it if we know about it? Right. So if you then come to me and say this is going on and I don't take any action, then my firm could potentially be liable for that. So like in the case that we're talking about with the coach and the videographer. So he did this, right?
Right.
So they found out about it. The organization found out about it. And when they found out about it, they took action. That's totally about limiting their liability. Yeah. That's totally about them saying, look, we found out about this and we did everything we could do. She may have a cause of action against him personally, but her cause of action against the organization is going to be somewhat limited.
So here's my next question. Let's say he's suspended for an entire year. I don't care if it's playing ball or whatever else. Right. He's suspended for a year. And then he comes back next year. Mm-hmm. She has to maintain her job, correct? Because if you let her go over this, can you let a person like that go? Because did they violate rules? And
they probably wouldn't, but if they're prudent, they would move her to a place where she wouldn't be working with him.
Like in the sauna.
Okay, in the sauna or in the locker room. Yeah.
Right. Somewhere where she wouldn't have access to him.
Somewhere where it's purely safe. Right. There wouldn't be anything going on. But there are other issues that come up. So one of the issues that the court's going to look at is what's the environment like. So if there's an environment there, like coach is sleeping with a videographer, and this becomes public knowledge, is, oh my gosh, we got to do this. But if you've got players sleeping with other employees, and you've got other administrators sleeping with other employees, and this is kind of a culture of the firm,
it's cool.
It doesn't.
No, it's not cool.
It doesn't matter.
I didn't know where he was going with that.
It doesn't matter at that point that they let him go because of this. And the other problem is now you might have an action from him because you've got this environment and you're not taking this action against anybody else. But
I didn't think about that.
So the environment that's created by the company enters into this also. So it's a kind of a complex kind of a situation.
So there's no good answers coming out of this.
Well, I mean,
I don't understand suspending somebody.
What the answer will be is that they will reach a settlement. They'll have a non-disclosure clause. Nobody will know how much money the Celtics paid this girl, and she'll have to surrender her job as part of the deal, and that's what'll happen.
I want to ask Kelly this because she looks like a truth teller. NDAs. People sign NDAs and then they never say anything. I shan't believe that. You're telling me they don't tell their neighbor, or they don't tell.
How often do you chant?
I am chanting regularly.
It depends how much money People Magazine pays her.
So let's say the Celtics go, hey, we're going to give you $5,000 now to talk about this, sign this. If I break that NDA, can't somebody basically pay me to break the NDA? Do you know what I mean? Like, can I get sued for breaking an NDA?
Yes. there are damage clauses in them. We have them all the time in our area of practice. It's a much smaller amount. So I explained to the client, I'm very serious about it. Do not talk, do not disclose. And for the most part, people want to walk away.
Right.
They want to be done. That's why they're settling. And I've never had an issue with it. I've never had opposing counsel call and say, hey, your client, is violating the NDA. Or if they do, we just make the phone call. But this is bigger. This is bigger money.
This
is much bigger money.
Usually the NDA has a clause in it as to
what she can talk about anyway.
NDA means non-disclosure agreement, and usually within the non-disclosure section, there's a damages clause that basically says the parties agree that the damages are difficult to calculate, so therefore the damages will be, and then they enumerate what the damages will be, and most of the time it's rescission, so you got to pay back the money,
which means when the economy's not doing well.
And then we're in a rescission right now.
I shan't believe anything other than. I just want to see if he was listening. He was like, what?
And if it gets really bad, it's a decision.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We shan't want that either.
So, usually there's rescission, and then there's usually some kind of additional damages. And then they're usually also allowed to get libel slander damages. So, they tend to put a lot of teeth in the NDAs.
Well,
NDAs are common even while you're an employee.
Right.
You can't disclose financial information. You can't disclose secrets. You can't disclose how we do customer service. Like NDAs are common in employment.
Is that a one-time? So like you have to sign it one time, or is it every time you have a change? So like when I was in radio, so when I first got in radio, you could be at say QFM, and then the fan would pay you $20,000. So you would just job hop, and then they started putting in, what do you call it? Non-competes. But then they wanted you to sign, like if you had seen how they operate, say the digital world of it, now you have to sign this NDA.
Right.
Well, the whole reason someone's hiring you is
because
you know that. So does it mean, so in your office, do you have to constantly have people sign NDAs about different things, or is it one time?
So you asked two different questions there because you were talking about going back and forth.
You're like, I didn't ask five. Go on.
So typically the NDAs, you only need to have them. They typically are position specific. Mm-hmm. So if I hired you to be a accounting person, and then later on I moved you to a different position, I would probably have to have you do a new NDA because the old NDA was part of your previous agreement. And a lot depends. A lot of times the NDA, like ours actually says, as long as you're employed for Willis and Company, and then this lasts after, or for Willis and Company. Wow, that's a long time ago. For
Willis,
as long as you're
Spangler, Starling.
As long as you're employed by
we
Willis,
like
Spangler.
our partners.
They're not
Willis,
here.
Spangler,
We don't
Starling.
have.
We like them.
I haven't been Willis and Company for 20 years.
I think that was before me too. I'm getting a little worried here.
I did see Stan's branching out. This is your NDA. Hit the bricks, Kel. We're doing this. It's nothing but law and podcasts.
So what happens is so it says during your employment. So if I hire you today, and you work for me for 5 years, then that NDA lasts forever. So you can't disclose anything that's covered by the NDA that you learned in that 5 years ever for eternity, typically. Now, if you come back to work for me in a different position and I don't do a new NDA, whatever you learned during that time, if it's different than what you learned in the first time, you can still go ahead and disclose it because I didn't do the NDA. So you would have to do a new one for each.
But how does that work when you have a whistleblower? Right, so like Twitter has a whistleblower now. We are getting way off the topic because we were talking sexy time.
The NDA led to the NDA. That
which is going to make the coach MIA all season.
which gets us back to your proposal.
Yeah. How much time do we have, Nate? Okay, we have 5 more minutes.
So in a whistleblower situation, a whistleblower situation would not be covered under an NDA because
Isn't that the whole purpose? Don't tell anybody my shit. Well, I'm going to blow the whistle. Oh, that's fine.
But there are whistleblower statutes. So if a company is doing something that's illegal, you can't cover that with an NDA. It's illegal to do that.
Right. So an NDA is covering trade secrets, how we run our business, what makes us
right.
The things that make us who we are.
Totally
you
get
can't
it.
disclose Coca-Cola's recipe.
If
I had it, I would.
If I'm laundering,
But if they're doing illegal activity,
But that's what I mean.
Dumping
Let's say in the
Ohio
recipe,
River.
we're putting cocaine in this in the 1800s. I think you should be allowed to say, I have something, but I can't tell you, but look over in this bin. Like, I don't understand how you can have an NDA and you're not breaking these rules.
Well, here's the thing. So if what I'm doing in my business is laundering money for an illegal operation, embezzlement scheme somewhere, I
sniff an idea coming. Go on.
I can't get an NDA. I can't enforce an NDA for somebody going and reporting that I'm engaging in criminal activity.
We see.
Typically, those NDAs tend to be that people just kill you. So the people who are doing criminal,
especially if you work for Nestle, or cartels, either one. Well, what's the difference? Really?
Yeah, I mean, so if you're working for the mob and you decide that you want to be a whistleblower, good luck.
That always works out well for those guys.
It doesn't.
They're going to blow your whistle.
Yeah. Well, that's how this coach got in trouble. He got his whistle blown, and I think that's a good way to end. Now, Stan, if you'll help me, I want to just say a little something to Neil Long. Kelly, if you just come in here and translate what I'm saying into beautiful French. Stan, sing Candle to the Wind while we're going on. Nia, I just want to let you know, I know you watch the show. I'm here for you. My life is in ruins. Yours is. Let's make this happen. Okay? You've been listening to Objections with Stan Willis. We'll see you next week.